drew a couple of raffles last week. The Super Sedan promotion won the $350 one. First prize went to W. Phillips. Second of $100 went to Frank Jasenko. Third to Dave Banning. So that's about all the information that's around the place.
Australian Championship. 8 on the counter. Can't break. Darrell, Stag. All set to lead the field in. We're set for the green flag. Let's see if we can go racing. Event number 1, the first heat for the Supers, underway, and they're 3 wide in towards turn number 1. It's Darrell Stag versus Robby Marchant, who loves the hooky conditions that Speedway Park offers. Getting out of turn number 2, Marchant. Moving up on the back of Darrell Stag, and Peter Logan, car number 6, beginning to apply a fair amount of pressure as the field exit turn number 4. 1 lap down, 7 remaining, and it's still Darrell Stag leading from Robby Marchant, but Peter Logue hooks the car on the low line, trying to go through on the inside of Marchant, locking horns down the back chute, and something had to give, and unfortunately for Peter Logue, I think he may have just blown a right rear tyre. The car is leaning over on the right rear corner rather ominously, and as I thought, a right rear tyre has gone away on Peter Logue's number 6 machine after an altercation with Robby Marchant in car number 87. And Marchant just gives Darrell Stag something to go on with in towards turn number 3. The pair of them locked in heavy combat through the start-finishing line. 3 down, 5 remaining. Ron Maiolo having a great drive in car number 12. He's up in 3rd position. In 4th, we've got car number 19, Gary Drew from Trevor Hammer, Joni Miller, and John Hughes sitting at the back of the field. Our leader spun the car, but has been able to keep it going. Almost to 360, and it's brought down the yellow on event number 1 with 5 laps remaining.
Okay, we're looking for a restart on this. This is event number 1 on the program, the Scotcher Petroleum Super Sedans. Heat 1, of course, for JD Milk Supplies. Have a look at that. Robby Marchant out and running, impressed us before the stoppage. This time he is leading the way, the clayway out there, certainly putting the power down the back chute with about 4 and a little bit laps to go.
Good dives for 2nd position. Gary Drew throws it in deep on Ron Maiolo, but couldn't quite get the job done. Incidentally, 18.34 seconds for Robby Marchant, and we'll get the times for you on the next 4 laps to see whether the track's coming in as it should be. Ron Maiolo in car number 12 still in 2nd position, but right on his hammer at the moment. Gary Drew in car number 19 from Avalon. Trevor Hammer in car number 4, certainly not disgracing himself, holding on to the 4th position in the standings. And behind him is John Hughes in car 69, followed by Darrell Stag and Joan Miller in car number 7. But it's our race leader who has been steadily improving throughout the season, making his way past the start-finishing line and bringing it across with exactly 2 remaining. Gary Drew looks on the low line on Ron Maiolo and gets the job done. Certainly good execution of that passing manoeuvre from Drew. Has moved through the pack after starting from position number 8. So on the reverse grid situation, it's going to look pretty good, is Gary. Down past the start-finishing line one more time. Ron Maiolo, car number 12, still in 3rd position. From Trevor Hammer and Darrell Stag. Keep an eye on car number 8. The red and white machine with a little bit of fluorescent yellow or green on the side panels, but the checkered flag is waved. And the race is all over, bar the shouting. Through for the win unofficially, car 87, Robby Marchant from Gary Drew. Hailing from Avalon, 3rd position, Ron Maiolo. 4th going to Darrell Stag. A rejuvenated Joni Miller.
Certainly will be, JC. Let's have a look at this as that car on pole position. Sean Middleton for White Line Transport brings the vehicles in. This is event number 2 on your program for Scotcher Petroleum. We have the green flag and Sean Middleton taking advantage of that pole position. Have a look at that man around the outside. And that is from Western Australia, Ben Ludlow. There's nothing this man doesn't know about the clayway out here as he goes down the back chute. Behind him, car 11 is Rocky Caruso holding up the local end very, very well indeed. And then Bill Miller in the distinctive pink car. But John has got the clock on Ben Ludlow at the moment. Sean Middleton not making any disgrace of it. The Western Australia mate is out and running by the length of the Nullarbor Plain. Jason Sloper is having a stutter in the gutter.
Yeah, through goes Ben Ludlow, a 17.15. We saw some low 18-second circulations in heat number 1, and he's now down in the low 17-second bracket. Let's see if he can get into the 16s now, which is certainly very respectable for the Super Sedans. Ludlow gets off turn number 4, down past the judging area, a 17 flat. 17.00 from Ben Ludlow, the streaking sandgroper, driving car number 9. Sean Middleton, the South Australian, the first of the Crow Eaters, in 2nd position. and Rocky Caruso hanging on to third. Narrowly, Middleton just about cooks it, getting all loose out of turn number 4. Rocky Caruso still in third position. Fourth, Bill Miller, and car number 17 from Bendigo. The marauding Mark Weaver beginning to make some inroads onto the gap that his fellow competitors have just in front of him. Next is Stevie Stewart from Brian Atkinson and Jason Sloper. And car number 3, I think, has just been put a lap down.
I would say so. Jason Sloper's car. Look at that car up there. That's Billy Miller very high, I think. No, car 5, Atkinson up high and having a tete-a-tete with Jason Sloper. Jason Sloper's car is handling like the average swamp donkey. But let's get back to the head of this field as Ludlow goes through with roundabouts half a lap almost over Sean Middleton.
Oh, look out. Jason Sloper moved to the high side of the track there and just about wiped out our race leader. Certainly not what a driver likes to see confronting him halfway down the back chute. That was an 18.19 second lap there. 18.19 from Ben Ludlow. Sean Middleton holding up South Australia's end of the stick very nicely in second to Rocky Caruso, Bill Miller and Mark Weaver. The checkered flag at the ready. Car number 9, Ben Ludlow, does it comfortably to the tune of half a lap from car number 95, Sean Middleton. The young South Aussie did it well. Number 11, Rocky Caruso in third position. Fourth going to Mark Weaver from Bendigo. In fifth position, Bill Miller. Rounding out the top 6, Stevie Stewart in car 47. Followed by Jason Sloper, who just about brought about the undoing of his board.
We've got at least one more lap again. Drivers know that we still have a cross flag situation. Car 37 is David Anderson. Car 4, Rex Hodson. 16, Jamie Cobby on the outside second row. In position number 4, 2, 4, 6 of the slickest, quickest race cars you're going to see.
Getting set for it now. 8 laps up on the Coca-Cola counter. We'll get the stopwatch into top gear. Set for the green flag. Let's go racing. And the defending champion, David Anderson, gets away swiftly. Peter Smith following into turn number 1. And Jamie Cobby in car 16 looking down on the inside of Peter Smith in the early going. In fourth position, car number 11, Ian Lewis. And they're being followed by Rex Hodson back in the cockpit of one of these wing warriors. And chasing him is the Victorian, Phil Middleton, in car number 12. Off turn number 2, you can see Ian Lewis has made up a fair amount of time on Jamie Cobby as they exit turn number 4. We'll get the stopwatch working on Peter Smith. The car seems to be handling very well around this circuit, but it's David Anderson absolutely demoralising them at this stage. There is an enormous amount of drive out on the circuit, and David is utilising that. Through he goes in a 13.5. 13.50 for David Anderson, hailing from Albury. They call him the Albury Express, and they don't call him that for nothing. Peter Smith sitting in behind, and Jamie Cobby, the second of the South Australians for Jarvis Ford Road and Track Services, rounding out the top 3.
3 1/2 laps to go, and I tell you what, this is David Anderson's school of how to drive a sprint car. The track is in absolutely tip-top condition, JC, and Anderson's out there running behind him. Of course, is car 8, Peter Smith. Jamie Cobby up there trying to catch up into a passing move. The man who's threatening both of those is Victoria 11, Ian Lewis. But have a look at this. Sit back and watch as 1.5 laps come up as David Anderson is going out for some sprint car practice.
A 13.24 on the previous circulation, 13.24. The white flag out of 13.19. 13.19 from David Anderson. Peter Smith rock solid in second position, and a top performance from Smithy for the highway in, and Jamie Cobby in car 16 back in third position, with Ian Lewis in car number 11 rounding out the 4 for Rex Hodson and Phil Middleton. It is unofficial. The checkered's wave. David Anderson winning by a good half a lap from Peter Smith, Jamie Cobby, Ian Lewis, Rex Hodson. Good on you, Rex. First time out. Brought the car back in one piece for the number 1 mobile team. It's Scotch Petroleum, as well as Patches Bitumen. Some rubbing and wheel banging going on. Get set for racing. We've got the green, and it's Brad Scotcher who blasts his way into turn number 1. Out from car number 18, one of our interstate entries here this evening, and that's Noel Reichstein. In fact, hailing from Waikerie. I do apologise, the Waikerie entry, we don't see a great deal of Noel at Speedway Park, but it's excellent to see him here. Through goes Brad Scotcher, 1 lap down, 7 remaining. Noel Reichstein, the familiar 18 car, blowing a little bit of smoke as Noel makes his way around the circuit in the early going. and Wayne Hine, the Western Australian champion. Up the rails on Trevor Nucky, and Graham Cowland throwing caution to the wind, follows Hine through on Nucky and slots himself into 4th position. Following them, car 78, as I said, being driven by Trevor Nucky tonight for Tectaloy, and car number 6, Stephen Miller, with car number 51 currently rounding out the field. I think that's a 51. Just looking down here, not listed in our program, but we'll try and pick that up for you with Brad Scotcher out leading by a quarter of a lap. In fact, it is Tracy Obst. So Tracy Obst out in car number 51, about a quarter of a lap behind Stephen Miller, but Brad Scotcher in car number 1. He's the South Australian champion, current and Victorian and Tasmanian for that matter, and adding to that, took out the 5-all 40 last Friday. Tonight he's trying to do it for his sponsors. Mobil and Scotcher Petroleum has a good quarter of a lap break on Wayne Hine driving car number 1, but the real mover and the shaker in this pack is Graham Cowland from Murray Bridge, car number 42, the distinctive black, orange and blue machine. Have a look at Cowland, just pops the front inside wheel up on the gutter, trying to utilise every inch of this racetrack and then some. And Stephen Miller has now gone underneath Noel Reichstein with Trevor Nucky in 4th position, but it's on for young and old. Graham Cowland throws it deep into 1, trying to look for a run-off turn number 2 on Wayne Hine. Nothing going to give, and they're pretty evenly matched here, only a car length or so between them, and that's been the case for the past 4 or 5 laps. It's Cowland working the low line on Wayne Hine driving car number 1, the Western Australian title holder. This time Cowland tries the mid-track line, the right rear hooking up, and he boots it down, and out goes Cowland, car number 42, but still, they're side by side, the final 2 corners, the checkered coming out. Can Cowland do it? I think he's going to. There's the checkered flag. Good on you, Graham. In for 2nd position, Western Australia's Wayne Hine for 3rd, 4th position, Stephen Miller, and rounding out the top 5, car number 78, Trevor Nucky. From Noel Reichstein, the car seemed to deteriorate the longer the race went on, and Tracy Obst. So all is not lost. There's certainly very high quality staff down there. They're switched on, they know what they're doing, as is heat number 2. They're set to go. The starter ignites them into action. We've got the green, and it's Ken Veal locking turn number 1. Max Dumsney threads the eye of the needle into 2nd, and David Anderson into 3rd position. Oh, Anderson around, just about cooks it in front of the entire field, but stands on it. This throttle stopper hailing from Albury, getting his act together. You talk about action, it's action aplenty of turn number 2. Peter Smith attempting a bold passing manoeuvre on the outside, but it's Ken Veal driving car number 8 at this stage, keeping a rampant Max Dumsney at bay in 1st, and it's Peter Smith, and Anderson's in trouble this time. I think the car may have dropped a drive line, or it may have even dropped out of gear, but it's Ken Veal in car number 8, a 13.48. 13.48 for Veal. At this stage, Dumsney 2 to 3 lengths behind from Peter Smith in car number 8, Darrell Downing in 97, Jamie Cobby and Wayne Bunker rounding out the field, but JT, the killer Ken Veal, out there and showing them the way around the park tonight.
Certainly is. I think David Anderson may have a flat rear left there. You don't normally see Anderson make any sort of mistake. This is one hell of a race. We've got 3 laps of racing to go. In comes car 8. His run is absolutely over in Peter Smith, and we're back to the leader now with 2.5 laps to go. This race is at everything.
It's Max Dumsney for Team Valvoline and John Sydney Racing out negotiating this quarter-mile racetrack in Adelaide with what appears to be effortless ease. Car number 8, Peter Smith, trying to make it 2 second placings on the trot tonight. And number 97, Darrell Downing, sitting back in 3rd position. Through goes Dumsney, 1 lap to go. There's Darrell Downing, he's in 3rd position. And Jamie Cobby about to come under the microscope from Wayne Bunker, driving car number 27. A bit of racing still to be done. The checkered flag waves. Dumsney wins at the final lap time, 13.24. Peter Smith gets in for 2nd, and Darrell Downing finishes in 3rd position from Jamie Cobby in 4th, and Wayne Bunker in 5th position. But what about it?
If you need any sort of petroleum needs, whether they be specialist racing petroleum needs or supply of diesel, etc., then Scotcher Petroleum have been at this game for 20 years, so they're the people to ring. John Cobby will call them in.
Thank you, JT, and we get the green flag. It's a drag race. Gary Drew versus John Hughes into turn number 1. Drew on the inside, but John Hughes, with the foot in the bucket, gets off the second turn and will lead the pack into turn number 3. The Di Tommaso Pantera out leading the way as they exit turn number 4 and bring it down to the start-finishing line. We'll hit the stopwatch and get a lap time for you on our leader, Gary Drew from Avalon, tucking into second position, and they're being followed by car number 87, Robby Marchant, who is applying a lot of pressure here in the early going. You can see the slight cushion beginning to form 1 or 2 car lengths up from the bottom of this racetrack. A 16.64 from Hughes, and it's still Gary Drew sitting in second position with Robby Marchant just drifting up a little bit higher on the track, finding good traction. Darrell Stag looking on the inside of Joan Miller, dives deep into 3, does Stag, will attempt to lock the corner, now gets it done. Darrell Stag into 4th position, relegating Joni Miller to 5th. And car number 6, Peter Loeb, rounding out the top 6 with Trevor Hammer, tail end Charlie.
Let's have a look at this at the leader of the bunch with around about 4 laps to go. Certainly car 69, Johnny Hughes for Scotcher Petroleum and Motor Lab, showing exactly the way to go in that Pantera. But have a look at the man on the outside there. That's car 87, Robby Marchant. He's trying to get drive on that midline there down the back chute. He's following car 19, Gary Drew at the moment. Can't get there. Gary Drew trying to hold that car down on the pole line. Behind him, hot to trot, is Darrell Stag. Look at Marchant. Can he get around the outside, down the back chute? Marchant, the local man, he's done it. Down the back chute with 6.5 laps to go.
The pedal to the metal as Marchant exits turn number 4, throwing caution to the wind. Through goes John Hughes in a 16.4. Winner of the 1985-86 South Australian Championship, Robby Marchant is no stranger to Speedway Park. Let's see if he can make up a little bit of time on John Hughes, who skipped away by a good 15 to 20 car lengths. The white flag being displayed now to our leader. A 16.81 from John Hughes in the Di Tommaso Pantera. Chasing every inch of the way, car number 87, Robby Marchant. Good dice for 3rd and 4th. Darrell Stag versus Gary Drew. As they approach turn number 3 and following quickly is Peter Logan, car number 6, but it's all over. Plus the shouting, the checkered waves, John Hughes through just in front of Robby Marchant. From Gary Drew, Darrell Stag and Peter Logue, who threw it in deep, locked up the brakes to avoid Darrell Stag, but he'd already crossed the finishing line. Next to the Chico rolls, everything on offer. Just about set for racing. Event number 7 for Scotcher Petroleum, the Super Sedans, heat number 5 in conjunction with Les Williams, trucks of My Law, Mark Weaver and Stevie Stewart. A man with a wealth of experience. Let's see if they get the green flag. Yes, they do, and we're away. And let's see if Stevie Stewart can go around the outside of Mark Weaver. A very even contest getting off turn number 2. But it's Mark Weaver that just edges in front of a couple of South Australians. And Ben Ludlow back at about 6th position. What a photograph that would have made. Our leader comes past the start-finishing line. 1 down, 7 remaining. It's the marauding Mark Weaver hailing from Bendigo with Stevie Stewart hot on his wheels at the moment. And Rocky Caruso in car number 11 in 3rd position, but a slight bit of understeer from Stewart may allow Caruso through on the inside. Lock to lock as they work turn number 1. And Sean Middleton, a real mover in this pack, looking on the outside of Caruso, and Rocky is in trouble. Pulling onto the infield apron, Rocky Caruso is very much out of commission in event number 7. Stevie Stewart washes high, and this should allow Sean Middleton through into 2nd position. Still Mark Weaver throwing the gauntlet out to the rest of the field, and we're about to see whether they are able to answer the call. Sean Middleton trying. He's had a good night thus far. Stevie Stewart battling a car that simply wants to understeer. That's what they class as being a little bit too tight in technical terms, and that's allowed Ben Ludlow into 3rd position and Bill Miller in car 77 into 4th, relegating Stevie Stewart back to 5th position. And I'd say some alterations definitely needed with the Dry Creek Wreckers 47 car.
Certainly would. Jason Sloper once again is giving the boys a hard time, but let's have a look at this as the Coca-Cola counter flashes up around about I think it's probably around about 5 laps to go now.
They're catching our leader, JT. Wheel to wheel as they exit 4 down past the pit area. Mark Weaver has got his hands full. Unfortunately, we can't see the Coca-Cola counter at the moment. We're trying to rectify the problem. Sean Middleton on the inside, but had to just take the foot out of the bucket. at the last instant. I can tell you 2 1/4 laps remaining. This is an absolute wheel terror. They bring it through the wide out. Sean Middleton still in second with Bill Miller in 77. Now rounding up Ben Ludlow, and it is far from over. Mark Weaver driving 17, trying to keep it down on the low line, and Ben Ludlow up the rails on Miller. The checkered about to wave. What a race. Car 17, Mark Weaver from Sean Middleton. And a dead heat for third. Bill Miller and Benny Ludlow from Stevie Stewart down the back chute. Warm up your hands. A big round of applause. That was an excellent race. South Australia's Darrell Downing sits on the outside of the front row. Max Dumsney and Wayne Bunker, row number 2. And Rex Hodson and Phil Middleton. Rounding out the field, we get the green. And we're racing into turn 1. It's Victoria's Ian Lewis who locks turn 2, with Darrell Downing trying to fight back on Max Dumsney. But Max a little bit too slick in the 1-2 turn. They're about to get off turn number 4. Through they go. What an ominous sound. Lewis, Dumsney, Downing, Bunker, Middleton and Rex Hodson. That's the way they stand as they approach turn number 3 for the second time. Max Dumsney working the slight cushion that's beginning to form, but Ian Lewis seems to have plenty of horsepower beneath the bonnet. A 13.36 from Lewis, 13.36. And he's been able to maintain a steady 1-2 car length buffer from Dumsney. The Fly, as he is affectionately known, small in stature, but big in heart is Ian Lewis, a 13.4, hooking the cushion. The cars almost looking like they're on rails out there. Let me assure you, they are not. And Phil Middleton onto the infield. He looks to be out of commission for this one. The torch has gone out. Car number 12 out as Max Dumsney beginning to mount a serious challenge for position number 1. It's still Ian Lewis in the NZ car number 11, who's out as they fly down in towards turn number 4, past the pit stand. Here comes Lewis. Dumsney in tow, a 13.5. Darrell Downing putting up a sterling show in third. Wayne Bunker in fourth. They're the major players. And Rex Hodson in car number 4, rounding out the 5. We're watching Ian Lewis. We've got the stopwatch on him, a 13.25, and this really is an incredible drive from the Fly. He's got it all together, and I wouldn't say amazes me, but it's very interesting that Max Dumsney isn't able to make up some time and possibly mount a passing manoeuvre on Lewis. The wide's out. He's only got 3/4 of a lap to do it in, and full credit to the team and full credit to the driver. Ian Lewis is going to accept the checkered flag willingly, and that is an excellent drive. Through goes the Fly. Max Dumsney for second, third Darrell Downing, and Wayne Bunker getting in for 4th position with Rex Hodson rounding out the top 5. Just the Hoosiers, the McCreary rubber, about to be set alight. In a few minutes of frenzied action. JT, there's the green.
Let's have a look at this. Graham Callan on the inside there. On the outside is car 6, Stephen Miller, and he's getting a lot of drive there. Certainly a very, very quick start to this race. It is event number 6 on the program, the Scotcher Petroleum Super Sedans Heat 6. And look at this, nothing that this Miller boy can't do in that Blair Athol Auto Parts car. Car 42 behind him, Graham Callan. They are hot to trot down that back chute.
Western Australia's best, Wayne Hine in car number 1. Rounding out the top 3 as Graham Callan begins to look on the inside of Stephen Miller. They're wheel to wheel as they exit turn number 4. Nothing in it. A 16.57. 16.57, and that's characteristic of the Pontiac being driven by our leader. It's laying over onto the right rear, getting maximum traction, but it's a 3-car freight train. Car 6, Stephen Miller, 42, Graham Callan, and car number 1 from Western Australia, Wayne Hine, a 16.61. 3 of them staggered superbly as they exit 2. A good battle for 4th, Trevor Nucky and Brad Scotcher, and Brad moving through on the inside of Trevor. And Noel Reichstone in car number 18, back in 6th position. Through goes our leader. It's the GST of a different kind, a great steam train. 1, 2 and 3, Callan on the inside. And Stephen Miller in car number 6, continuing to lead this by about a car length or so, with Wayne Hine hovering back in 3rd position. One feels just biding his time.
Certainly is. If you're a photographer at Speedway, what a picture does that make? 1, 2 and 3 just beautifully up there into turn number 3 at the moment. And have a look at Miller just tucking it down, holding it in. He's almost cooked it through there, but bringing it down. Okay, Graham Callan is just very anxious to get a little closer to the boot. And then behind him from Western Australia was Wayne Hine. There, 1, 2 and 3. Scotcher back there around about a 1/4 of a lap behind. And let's have a look at this. What's going to happen here? We've got the white flag coming out very shortly. But Blair Athol Auto Parts with Miller at the wheel is hot to trot. Then Cowland coming up against slower traffic. This could alter the complexion of the race.
1 1/4 laps remaining. We've had the stopwatch on them from the word dot. The white goes out now, and it's still Stephen Miller in car number 6. The car leaning over and driving off the right rear. That's what you've got to do with the super sedans, the midgets and the sprint cars out here at the Clayway. Will Stephen Miller be able to hang on? I think he's going to. The checkered flag at the ready. John Dawson waving it through, and Stephen Miller unofficially taking victory. Car 42, Graham Cowland for second. Valiant performance from Wayne Hine into third. Fourth going to Brad Scotcher in car number 1, and Trevor Nucky finishing in 5th position.
Things first, and I said, yeah, actually, having been down the pits, I can understand why I'd bring it on the first bend.
I guess this is a bit of a relief for you after all your work over the last couple of weeks, and indeed the next week is going to be pretty hard work for you.
Oh yes, we've got 8 days to go, and they're going to be hard, tough 8 days, but of course we're hoping for the big victory on the end of it for all Australians.
Well, we're all here barracking for Gary Rush for Prime Minister, but if you do get in, do you think you could find your way clear to sponsor a few events out here by the SA government?
Well, I'm sure that there's a lot of areas of sport that deserve a lift, and yeah, we'd certainly be looking at all propositions to make sure we put this state on the map.
Stephen, thank you for talking to us. We wish you very best of luck in the coming 8 days, and thanks for partaking out here at Speedway tonight.
It's been great, thanks, Mayor.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Baker, the shadow treasure for the opposition.
Auto Colour and Maxwell Motors and Sprint Auto Parts as well. And a whole host of other drivers. Should be a good one. And the Human Cannon to be televised for the Steve Vizard show. Should be an incredible night. Hope to see you here next Friday, because it's going to be where it all happens, JT. We're just about set. Heat number 4 of the South Australian Sprint Car Championship for Jarvis Ford. And it's Jamie Cobby versus Ian Lewis through the 1-2 turn. They're lock to lock down the back chute. Let's see who takes turn number 3. It's Cobby, throws it in down on the low line, but Ian Lewis trying to respond on the inside. Back in 3rd position, car number 8, Peter Smith. From car number 4, Rex Hodson. And now Jamie Cobby's been able to skip away by a good 15 to 20 car lengths. Getting around nicely. The car's hooked up as he crosses the start-finishing line and sets off on yet another lap. Lewis following from Peter Smith, who has had such a good night at the motor races. And Rex Hodson rounding out the top 4, but a good start. 4 drivers out on the circuit, and a great deal of quality amongst them.
Certainly is, and Jamie Cobby, of course, the man that goes over to America on Wednesday of this coming week. There's not a lot that he doesn't know about this particular track. He messes with the big boys over in the United States, and have a look at this, just reeling off the laps. John has got the stopwatch on it, and very, very quick indeed.
After a challenge at the outset of this one, it's been Jamie Cobby who's been able to skip away after Ian Lewis encountered some difficulties exiting turn number 2. A 13.27 from Jamie Cobby. 13.27 from car number 16. Doing his sponsors proud, Jarvis Ford and Road and Track Services. Ian Lewis trying desperately to make up some lost time in car number 11. There's a 13.20 from the South Australian. 13.20 with Peter Smith in car number 8 back in 3rd position. And Rex Hodson in car number 4 rounding out the field. As the white flag comes out for the Crow Eater, a 13.25 consistently down around the official 1-lap record here at Virginia's Clayway. In towards turn number 3, make that turn 4, gets a little loose. There's the checkered flag, and the South Australian wins it, and wins it quite comfortably. Number 11, Ian Lewis into 2nd position. 3rd going to Peter Smith. And Rex Hodson, the car giving up the ghost before he made his way. Car number 6, Stephen Miller from position number 3. It appears to be Miller from 3. Car 87, Robby Marchant, I think may move up to start from position number 4. No, car number 19. Gary Drew moving up. Gary Drew in 19 to start from position number 4. That's been confirmed. Car number 1, the South Australian, Tasmanian and Victorian state champion, Brad Scotcher. The triple trying to retain his South Aussie crown tonight from 5. Brad Scotcher in the Pontiac. Number 1 entry from position 5. And car number 87. So he's shown a blinding turn of speed tonight. Robby Marchant in the 87 entry. For BP Linden Park and Salisbury Auto Wreckers, Marchant from 6. There you have the field. We've got the flashing amber lights out on the circuit. The start appearing ominous at the moment. The yellow flag being raised in the air, almost in the starter's hands. Atkinson and Nucky, row 1, Miller and Drew, row 2. And row 3, Brad Scotcher and Robby Marchant. As we look set for the green, they're in the starter's hands. He lets them rip, and Trevor Nucky gets away quickly with Gary Drew in car number 19 following. You see Brian Atkinson hugging the pole line, but is about to be rounded up by a couple of drivers, namely Stephen Miller driving car number 6, looking for the mid-track line. Let's see if it comes into play here. A gaggle of them. They're bunching up at the front of the pack, and they complete lap number 1. We've got 7 remaining, almost in pilot formation here. Here they go. They're approaching turn number 3, 3 wide, and I'll just correct that. Make that fighter pilot formation. Quite a tongue twister. Got it wrong earlier on in the standings. We'll have to keep an eye on that up here in the commentary position. And Stephen Miller around the outside, finding something extra. The right foot is firmly planted. And as a result, Stephen Miller breaking away by a good 3 to 4 car lengths. Gary Drew moving into second, getting a little loose off 4. And Brad Scotcher about to slide his way into third. Now has done so. Trevor Nucky in 4th. 5th is Robby Marchant and Brian Atkinson, rounding out the 6 and the field.
Certainly is, and you would think sometimes that's only a 3-car wide track out there. But these cars certainly burning up.
Here comes Scotcher.
Certainly does. Tucking on the inside, just holding that rubber down on the cement pole line, coming through into second spot, out hot to trot, down into 3, 4.
Yeah, the challenge has been thrown out here. Stephen Miller loves a hooky track, and this is what he's being confronted with. He's turning inconsistent mid-16-second lap times. The previous one, a 16.47. And we'll see whether Brad Scotcher has got an answer. 2 and a bit laps to go. It's Stephen Miller for Brad Scotcher. Gary Drew sitting back in 3rd position. A 16.58 from Stephen. 16.58 for Miller's Auto Products and Blair Athol Auto Parts. Plenty of racing around the circuit. Robby Marchant making up a lot of ground on Gary Drew in car 19. And Brian Atkinson and Trevor Nucky fighting it out for the minors. A 16.52. But Brad Scotcher's made up some ground, and Robby Marchant throws it deep into turn 1. Plenty of drive just inside the concrete barrier. Marchant now gets it down on the back chute, makes his way into turn number 3. The checkered about to wave. Stephen Miller wins it. Gary Drew takes Robby Marchant up high, should finish in 3rd, only narrowly. Marchant into 4th position, and 5th going to Brian Atkinson from Trevor Nucky. But what about that drive around this circuit? The pace beginning to quicken, and we look set for a start.
Let's have a look at this on your program. This is event number 12 for Scotcher Petroleum. There is the green flag, and Stevie Stewart for Dry Creek Auto Wreckers is out there. Johnny Hughes is back in 3rd spot. Stag is in 2nd, and Sean Middleton wants a little bit of the action there. The Western Australian going high, and have a look at Hughes just tucking down. He's trying to get that Pantera muscling and bustling through turn 4.
Through they go. We'll get the stopwatch on Storm and Stevie Stewart. Oh, again a push going into turn number 1. Darrell Stag looks on the inside, and Big Bad Benny Ludlow throws it in on the outside. 3 wide in turn number 3. Ludlow has got it looked on the outside, but Stag fights back on the inside. Incredible stuff. Ludlow takes over the lead, relegating Darrell Stag, the valiant Victorian, back to 2nd, and Stevie Stewart has just been tagged. The deteriorating handling characteristics of the car virtually forcing Stevie out of the event. That's bad luck, but we've got a real challenge for the lead on our hands as Darrell Stag tries to nudge his way through on Benny Ludlow. 2 packs beginning to form, Ludlow and Stag in the 3rd turn. Again, Stag goes in deep and gives him a serve as they both go for the accelerator once again, this time past the judges. A 16.66 from Ludlow, 16.66 from Benny Ludlow. Our race leader has now broken away by 2 to 3 lengths on Darrell Stag, and John Hughes in car 69 in a comfortable 3rd from Sean Middleton. In car number 95, our race leader completing yet another lap. 3 to go, a 16.52. And they're now beginning to spread themselves out.
Certainly are. If there's any love out there between Benny Ludlow and Darrell Stag, you would find that it is lost. They're absolutely
well, 2nd place driver there just about cooking it, and this is going to give John Hughes a sniff on the outside. Throws it in deep, about to utilise the high roads of China. makes a mockery of that suggestion, just hooks it down on the inside and trying to size up his opposition. 1 1/4 laps to go. It's been Ben Ludlow in car number 9 after a frenetic start to this event, turning in consistent mid-16-second lap times, and the field very evenly matched. And I'm looking forward to the final 25 to 30 grueling laps for the Mobil Scotch Petroleum #1 team to decide who will be crowned the state champion for 92-93. There's Ben Ludlow, has finished off the event as strongly as he started it. Can't break Darrell Stag for finishing in second position, and filing in for third, John Hughes in car number 69. The Pantera looking pretty good. Row 2, Peter Smith and David Anderson desperately trying to pick up some points. Row 3, Max Dumsney and Darrell Downing. Everybody back behind the second of our safety fences, please. All kids behind the second of our safety fences, please. I don't think we'll be getting racing underway until we have you all behind our 2 safety fences. They are located there for a reason. We look set for the green, and we've got it. Some will banging off the line there. Wayne Bunker and Jamie Cobby, and it's Wayne Bunker who locks turn number 2. David Anderson following in second from Jamie Cobby. Max Dumsney up into 4th. Peter Smith and Darrell Downing. Anderson gets on the inside of Bunker, but the South Australian on the high line. The foot's in the bucket, but Bunker's been railroaded up high, allowing the Albury Express to gun his way through on the inside. Let's watch him go now. Anderson with Cobby and Bunker dicing for second and third. A 13.18, 13.18 from David Anderson. Wayne Bunker and Jamie Cobby, after rubbing wheels off turn number 4, about to go in combat for second and third. And Max Dumsney back in 4th position, unusually subdued so far tonight. Will Max Dumsney break the shackles and begin to get back into the form that netted him the World Series Quid Sprint Car Championship this season? All this and many more questions will be answered as the night progresses. Peter Smith following and Darrell Downing rounding out the pack.
Yeah, this is a great race. Have a look at that out there. This is sprint car racing in absolute perfection. It's Indian file virtually, but car 37 out there. David Anderson, there's nothing this guy doesn't know. Wayne Bunker putting up a tremendous fight out there. Jamie Cobby hot to trot down the back chute, trying to get up into a passing position, but I think Bunker at the moment is clearing out on Cobby in position number 2.
JT.
Whoa.
I'm sorry for cutting in on you.
That's quick.
The previous lap was a 12.73, slicing 0.5 of a second off the official 1-lap record at Speedway Park. Anderson again at 12.73. A 12.73 from David Anderson. The bullet hailing from Albury, taking all before him now, throwing the gauntlet out. You can use all sorts of superlatives. The fact of the matter is he's won the event and won it in commanding style. There's the checkered flag. Wayne Bunker gets him for second position. Jamie Cobby for third. Wayne Bunker, as I said, second. Max Dumsney was the driver I was looking for into 4th. 5th going to Peter Smith.
Rush, or 1 minute 44.3, so there's certainly everything happening here. Let's have a look at the start of this one. We've got the green flag.
Event number 13, becoming event number 14, in fact, heat number 9, and some trouble in turns 1 and 2. Bill Miller, Wayne Hine and Graham Cowland. A 3-car pile-up, number 17, Mark Weaver.
Oh, I really wouldn't fire myself out of a cannon.
Almost set for the resumption after a 3-car pile-up. When we tried to get it underway on the first attempt, second time lucky perhaps. We'll watch the clerk, of course, Mr. John Dawson, getting a little towy trackside. Will he give them the green? Yes, he does at the last instant. And it's Peter Logue from Victoria, car number 6, that nails turn number 1. 77, Billy the Kid, Bill Miller for Blair Athol Auto Parts, with the Pontiac moving into second position. Mark Weaver in car 17, the blue and white car, into third, with car number 1, Wayne Hine from Western Australia, having a look on the outside of Mark Weaver, who throws it deep into the opening turn and almost cut Wayne Hine off of the chase there, but Wayne equal to the task. Graham Cowland, let's hope there's no damage to the car, seems to be handling okay in 5th position, and Bill Miller in car 77. Sorry, I do apologise. Joan Miller in one of the pink and blue, the very familiar cars rounding out the pack. A 16.42 on the previous circulation for Peter Logue. A slight bit of understeer going into turn 3. The real action here is for second and third. Keep your eyes peeled on this one. Bill Miller versus Wayne Hine. The current Western Australia champion gives Bill Miller a slight tap. And that's all it took. The yellow on the racetrack. And caution. John Dawson, the man who will either show the rear of field board or will withdraw it We just watch it. Peter Logan, car number 6, had broken away there, was showing a good turn of speed for GT Collins and Company, custom agent, and the rear of field bought out. Controversy and drama. He's going to have to do it the hard way now. Wayne Hine, the Western Australian Top Gun, has been relegated to the rear of the field. This will move Mark Weaver up into second. It will also reinstate Mark Weaver to third. It will reinstate Bill Miller to second. Graham Callan will move into fourth. And Joan Miller, one of the fastest grandmothers that you are ever likely to see, will move into fifth position. The evergreen Joni Miller driving familiar pink and blue car. There's a good 4 or 5 of them knocking around in the super sedan ranks. They put a lot into their Speedway, do the Miller clan. Wayne Hine, car 1. I wouldn't say all that happy. In fact, he'd be savage about this. He's been relegated to the rear of the field, but plenty of racing. Still 5 laps to go. We've got the flashing caution light now out on the circuit. The alofted yellow. And the start, almost a formality now as the field roll around. We must pay full credit to the track curators here. Really not in need of any kind of a track grade. It's good on tyres, it's good on equipment, it's good for everyone. We've seen lots of good racing from the pole line up to the concrete barrier. So top work there to the ground staff, all the curators here at Speedway Park in Virginia. You've done an excellent job. We'll get back to the racing though as they exit turn number 4. And now exactly 4 laps remaining for Peter Logan, car number 6, 77. Bill Miller tucking in behind in second position, and Mark Weaver in third, but is about to come under the hammer from Graham Cowland in car 42. Cowland goes to the mid-track line. A little bit of fiberglass flying up in the air there from the Cowland car, and Wayne Hine back into fifth position. You can see the traction on offer. Cowland just popping the car up on the mid to high line, and it's responding. The right foot firmly planted, and the Murray Bridge throttle stomper about to go into third position. Through goes Peter Logan, car number 6, and it's Graham Cowland now moving inside the top 3 with his sights firmly fixed upon the 77 car being driven by Bill Miller. The white flag being prepared by the birthday boy, Mr. David Ray, the assistant clerk, of course, here at Speedway Park. Peter Lowe comes through, accepts the white flag willingly. It's not over for second, third, fourth and fifth. Cowland coming on with a late race charge into turn number 3. Cowland versus Bill Miller, and he throws it in. He's getting traction. The checkered about to wave. Graham Cowland on the outside and takes second position. Third going to Bill Miller for mine. Mark Weaver fourth. And Wayne Hine getting in for fifth position, and disgruntled fifth. Now he is indicating that he's pulling onto the infield. Let's just hope that he can get the car started. Ian Lewis, Darrell Downing, Wayne Bunker, Rex Hodgson, and Max Dumsley, who will be appearing between 9 and 10 at Paraka for Sprint Auto Parts, signing autographs, his car, the transporter, everything will be down there. So if you miss out on seeing Max tonight, you remember he took out the Nationals at the Calder Park Thunderdome a few weeks back. And that was a very big win, his first major win in the NASCAR. He'll be down there with the team and the car, and he'll be signing autographs and giving away posters and so forth. So a good one for Team Valvoline and John Sydney Racing.
Okay, we're waiting for the cars to come in. This is going to be a very quick one. The green flag is out. Have a look at that car 5. Max Dumsley out there is setting the pace, tucking that wheel right down on the pole line. He is out to hot to trot down the back chute, going very, very quickly indeed, and comes through turn 4. Car 5 for Valvoline.
And Max Dumsley in car number 5 gets off turn number 2, looking the goods here. And he's turning the tables on Ian Lewis driving car number 11. You'll remember it was Max Dumsley who was chasing Ian Lewis, I think, in heat number 1. And the luckless Rex Hodgson just pulling off the circuit. Some trouble. The car looking immaculate, I must say. But Rex's hopes of finishing strongly in this event are certainly diminishing by the moment. There's a 13.23 from Dumsley, 13.23 from Max Dumsley for Valvoline and John Sydney Racing. And he's beginning to leave the entire field in his wake as he rockets off turn number 4. Through goes Max with exactly 4 laps remaining. Car 11, Ian Lewis in hot pursuit. and Wayne Barker certainly his hands full. Darrell Downing driving pretty well in car 97. They're making their way down towards turn number 3, but it's all Max Dumpsney, 13.30, and it's the John Sidney and Valvoline show at the moment. Max approaching turn number 3 will come around and past the judging area with precisely 2 laps remaining. What a performance.
Certainly is. If you want to know how to drive a sprint car, I'd suggest you put this in your How to Drive book, because Max Dumpsney, there's nothing less you would expect of this driver as he takes the white flag there, comes through with 1 lap to go, and you're talking about around about half a lap in front of a class field as well in Ian Lewis from Victoria, and then our own car 27, Wayne Bunker, getting out hot to trot there, and Darrell Downing. Checkered flag, Max Dumpsney, that's the man who is sprint car racing right now, and Ian Lewis across the line, and behind him Wayne Bunker and Darrell Downing.
Perhaps the pace is quickening, JT.
Yes, we're ready for the championship. This is going to be a start. Yes, sir, we have the 1992-93 championship. Graham Cowland is out there just going a little high on that, but still getting plenty of drive up there. Then Miller behind him, and those cars sorting themselves out there, tippy-toeing right now, but we've got 24 laps of racing to go.
Oh, we've had a spin down the back chute. Looks like Ben Ludlow in car number 9.
Also car 8 there in... car 8 is definitely
the better of Stephen Miller on the second attempt. We have the aloft yellow. The clerk, of course, Mr. John Dawson, getting itchy feet. Will he let him rip?
Let's have a look at this. Get your glasses ready for this, the main event tonight. 25 laps, the South Australian Scotch Petroleum Super Sedan Championship. We have green for go. Graham Cowland around the outside with Miller in there. Stephen Miller on the inside, just tippy-toeing around. Scotcher just having a bit of a push. Behind him is car 95, absolutely going well. Sean Middleton as the rest of the field settles down. At the moment, we look as though we have this first lap almost
Sean
underway.
Up against the
yep.
That's bad luck. Copped the big
yellow
push
light
going into turn number 3. A little bit of understeer for at the start, virtually a formality.
Yes, we hope we can get a lap underway. There's 25 laps on the Coca-Cola counter. This is for South Australian Scotch Petroleum Group, the Super Sedan Championship. Once again, a restart there. Stephen Miller out the front in car 6. Have a look at that. Cowland hustling and bustling. Scotcher on the inside, down on the pole line. Tell you what, he absolutely needs this championship. It's exciting there. Scotcher just hanging in. Miller around the outside. The dirt flies as Cowland tries to get drive. It's on the outside of Scotcher. There we have it. Miller, then Graham Cowland, Scotcher, Stevie Stewart's there, and so is Johnny Hughes. Every player could win a prize, mate.
Oh, Brad Scotcher getting a little bit loose, and he's almost swallowed up from Robby Marchant. Oh, a big push from Marchant going into turn number 3. But Stephen Miller with Graham Cowland in tow, a 17.42. 17.42 from an 18.48 on the previous lap. The track is coming in. It's Miller from Cowland. Brad Scotcher beginning to get back on the pace now, and John Hughes in 4th position. 5th is Robby Marchant, followed by Bill Miller in car 77. It's fast, it's frenetic, and it's furious at the front of the field. Cowland having a look on the inside of Stephen Miller, just trying to worry him out of position as they negotiate the 3-4 turn. Scotcher deep into 3, the car getting a little bit taily, but they're coming down to the start finishing line. Through they go again. Our leaders are 16.88. 16.88 from Stephen Miller, but Graham Cowland very much within striking distance and may have a look up the rails as they make their way into turn number 3. It's Brad Scotcher hanging on to 3rd, with John Hughes applying a fair amount of pressure from 4th. Robby Marchant is the next one from Bill Miller in car number 77.
Yeah, Stephen Miller paving the way on the clayway here, but Graham Cowland is right behind him. This race is a long way from over. In fact, it's 19.5 laps away from being over. And have a look at this. Cowland trying to get down on the inside, but just tailing around Stephen Miller. Then Scotcher behind him, making a very neat race. Yellow light. Yellow, what do we got here?
Darrell Stag on the infield, or is it some debris?
I think
this is what Brad Scotcher's team have done, as well as Robby Marchant. Others have gone with a pretty good setup from the word dot. We're looking at the green flag with precisely 20 laps remaining. They're swarming into turn number 1. Stephen Miller locks the corner. Graham Cowland and Brad Scotcher moving to the outside. He's got some trust in the circuit now. Will he go on the outside of Cowland? He keeps the right foot, and Graham Cowland's in trouble. The front axle has given up the ghost, and Cowland is going to be a casualty as Darrell Stag spins along with Peter Logue. It may even be a front right tyre
I think you find the front left and the front right.
Oh, it's axle damage.
Yeah, he's got, he's in more trouble than the early settlers, mate.
Suppliers of board and methanol, everything involving fuels and distribution, they're in on it. We thank them, and we can't thank them enough. We're set for the restart.
Certainly are. 20 laps on that counter, and the restart is absolute replay of the last time round. But have a look at Stephen Miller out there just lifting that inside left wheel with Brad Scotcher right behind him, then Johnny Hughes, and of course behind him is Robby Marchant, and Miller goes very hard into that corner, just pushing out a little. Scotcher getting drive there, twisting through into turn 1 and 2. We've got the clock on it. What is it, John?
16:41.
I tell you what, this is quick, and Stephen Miller just counting down the laps there. We've got around about 18 and a bit laps to go at the moment. Miller just holding the car down.
Coming together with Robby Marchant and Bill Miller. Thank you very much. Some fiberglass flying in absolutely all directions. And Ben Ludlow about to seize the opportunity, going through on the inside of Marchant, who has developed a slight push going in through the turns. It may have developed after the altercation with Bill Miller, but it's not slowing him down. He's still got the foot buried in the bucket. There's a 16:21. They're getting quicker. A 16:21 from Stephen Miller, but Brad Scotcher. Scotcher on the inside for the main sponsor of this event. They go deep into 3. Scotcher should be able to lock it off turn number 4. Stephen Miller and Brad Scotcher. A 16:33. Brad on the inside, Stephen on the high line. And through goes the barnstorming one, Brad Scotcher, but Stephen Miller trying to fight back. And John Hughes, car 69, just hovering in third, watching what's going on, biding his time. He knows that there are at least 15 laps remaining, and anything could still happen as Miller lunges back on the inside. Bill Miller in car 77 in fourth. Fifth is Ben Ludlow from Robby Marchant in car number 87, who has been slowly slipping back a little bit of motor. Ben Ludlow has expired an engine. The torch has just gone out. Will it bring down the yellow?
Just waiting for that. Ben Ludlow up high there in turn 4. See what's going to happen, but back to the front of this pack, to the sharp end of the racing. And yes, we do have the yellow, but certainly Brad Scotcher out there. Look at it. This is a restart. An action-packed event and a little bit of bad luck out there. But this is it. We have the yellow flag aloft, waiting for the green. 15 laps to go in the championship.
And Stephen Miller's in drama.
Whoa.
The car simply did not seem to want to go here, and it's a big pile-up. Robby Marchant with the bit between the teeth came storming through, and let's hope we can get a replay of that, courtesy of Panda Video Monitors.
I still go with Brad Scotcher at this stage.
Yeah, I must say, you're looking pretty good, JT. Good selection.
Johnny Hughes, Bill Miller back there, Drew. So let's see what we've got. Another restart for the flag. It's green. It's 15 laps to go. Brad Scotcher certainly made a good start at that. Just getting plenty of drive there in 1-2. Johnny Hughes and then Bill Miller. The back is just settling down. Stephen Miller has got the bit between his teeth. The rear of the field start is not going to worry him. But let's have a look at the sharp end of this. Scotcher out and running SA1, hoping to keep it that way. Behind him, Hughes tucking that little Pantera down. Nothing little about the engine. Has got plenty of drive, plenty of strive into turn 3.
Bill Miller in car 77, rounding out the top 3 at the moment, finding some good lines around this quarter-mile racetrack. 16:23 from Brad Scotcher. But John Hughes in the diminutive Pantera circulating very quickly and getting right on the hammer and tack of our race leader. Bill Miller still third. Good battle for 4th and 5th with Darrell, Stag and Gary Drew, both from Victoria. There's a 16 flat, 16:00 from Brad Scotcher. Gary Drew and Darrell Stag into some heavy combat of their own for 4th and 5th. And Stephen Miller going around the outside of Mark Weaver in 17 and already up into about 6th position. There's a 16:21 from our leader. It's Stephen Miller continues his charge through the pack. Was just about confronted with the concrete wall. Now we'll get on the inside of Darrell Stag in car number 8. Goes for the accelerator, stands on the gas to Stephen Miller, and he's rounding them up like they're not even there. A 16:02 from Brad Scotcher. 77, still Bill Miller. We're dropping off the pace a little bit that our 2 leaders are setting. Stephen Miller up into 4th position. Has he got enough time? We've got 9 1/4 laps remaining. It's the Scotcher Hughes show at the moment for Mobil and Scotcher Petroleum, and they're doing it nicely out in front of the pack by a good quarter of a lap.
Yeah, Stephen Miller out to run, and that's a fair bit of interest at the moment. But Johnny Hughes is maintaining around about the same distance. In fact, I think he's just made up a little bit there, just pushing out on turn 4. But Johnny Hughes trying to see whether he can get in a passing position there to have a little bit of a grab at this particular championship, the 1993 Scotcher Petroleum Super Sedan Championship. And look at this, Johnny Hughes is going so very quickly, but just can't get up into that passing position. Brad Scotch has got something flapping off the back. Then the Miller boys, 1 and 2, coming through in the positions 3 and 4.
We've got 6 1/4 laps to go. Brad Scotcher threading his way through the traffic, and John Hughes getting balked a little bit from Trevor Hammer. There's a 16.46 from Brad Scotcher. The gap between our race leader and Stephen Miller, who is coming up on his brother Bill now as they exit turn number 2. I'll get a fresh gap for you between 1st and 4th, because it is Stephen Miller who is beginning to carve his way through the field. It's 4.5 seconds. Stephen Miller with a bootful, trying to go around the outside of Bill. Hooks turn number 1 and goes for the accelerator, and he's taken it 2. Into 3rd position, Stephen Miller in car number 6. We've got about 5 laps remaining. No, make that 4. Brad Scotcher into turn 1. John Hughes still following. I really can't see Stephen Miller getting up close enough to John Hughes and Brad Scotcher to make a passing manoeuvre. A race stoppage is, in my opinion, his only chance. Scotcher continues to lap very quickly, and the distance between himself and John Hughes, 1.27 seconds.
Certainly is. The question is at the moment, is there enough time for Stephen Miller to get to the line anywhere near a passing position?
And they're coming together. This could be it for Stephen Miller. Plenty of fiberglass, but no, still green on the racetrack. But Brian Atkinson through on Gary Drew, gives him a side panel fall, but Drew back into the action, and it's still green on the racetrack. The Demolition Derby coming about 2 or 3 weeks too early. The white flag about to be shown to our race leader, Brad Scotcher. John Hughes hasn't given up, and Stephen Miller, a lion-hearted drive in car number 6 for Blair Athol Auto Parts, but Brad Scotcher is going to make it a hat-trick. 3 on the trot, 2 corners remaining. The checkered flag at the ready. South Australia, Brad Scotcher, and the pulsating Pontiac takes out state championship number 3 in succession. 2nd going to John Hughes in car number 69. 3rd to car number 6, Stephen Miller. What a comeback. 4th, Bill Miller in car 77. In 5th position, car number 8, Darrell Stag. Rounding out the top 6, Mark Weaver from Brian Atkinson 7th, and Gary Drew in 8th position. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, he's about to accept the South Australian flag. Warm up your hands, put it together for Brad Scotcher. 3 in a row for Mobil and Scotcher Petroleum, doing his sponsors proud this evening. And the 25-lap sprint car final is yet to come, but you've got to feel happy for the guy and his team. That's 2 state championships this year, the Tasmanian, the Victorian, the Fireball 40, and now the South Australian Championship. 4 on the trot. He's had a magnificent season.
You're trying to tell me he knows how to drive. I think there's no question about that tonight. Have a look at that. He's proudly raising the flag. Wave your programs, give him a big hand there down through turn 3 and 4. The last 25 laps when he came through those turns, he was working very, very hard indeed. And once again, our thanks go to Scotcher Petroleum for their major sponsorship here tonight for this event. I'm looking forward to this one, because when that flag drops, you're going to have all the wings at once into turn 1, with Max Dumsney leading them in for Valvoline. Dumsney, one of the quickest men in Australia. Going to be hard to beat from that pole position.
The pace car's off.
Cobby behind him. John Cobby will call them in for this, the 1992-93 South Australian Jarvis Ford Sprint Car Championship. 20 laps is the journey.
And they're away, and Ian Lewis gets the jump on Max Dumsney. But Max fights back on the low line.
Whoa.
And Jamie Cobby a bicycle. And it was just about all over Red Rover for the 16 car. The car a little bit tight through the turns 1 and 2. And it's Max Dumsney. He's broken away by a good 5 to 10 car lengths from Ian Lewis and David Anderson. Getting away into 3rd position and pressuring Lewis in 3. Anderson, oh by gee, this brings back memories from the Sprint Car Masters. I think last season, where it coming together brought about the undoing of both of these competitors in turn number 3. Dumsney is out from Anderson. Lewis, Smith in 4th position from Cobby, Downing, Bunker, and Rex Hodson still with some problems. Jamie Cobby getting on the back push bar of Peter Smith. We'll see what's going to eventuate here in through turns 1 and 2. Peter Smith holding his own with the 16 car, hovering across the back of car number 8. Through goes Max Dumsney. We've got 16 laps remaining and plenty of racing to be done here from 4th onwards. seconds.
Certainly is, but at the moment Max Dumsney is racing against the clock, but Anderson is up there and I think gaining some sort of ground in car 37. The Wagga boy is hot to trot behind Dumsney, and of course Jamie Cobby is trying to make up. He had it right on the wild side through turn 3. It looked all over. Car 8 just going infield there, but let's get back to the sharp end of this.
13.07 for Max Dumsney. 13.07 from Max Dumsney, with David Anderson making up some ground, and we could have an absolute cracker of a battle on our hands. Dumsney crosses again, a 13.02. 13.02 with 13 circulations remaining. Max Dumsney from David Anderson, who started back on the 4th row. What a marvellous effort, up into 2nd position and gaining on Max Dumsney. A 13.10 from Max will clear the stopwatch and get the gap between the pair of them. It's only 7/10 of a second. 7/10 of a second separating Anderson and Dumsney, and Jamie Cobby beginning to reel in Ian Lewis for positions 3 and 4 in the running. Next is Wayne Bunker from Peter Smith, Darrell Downing and Rex Hodson, who, no, I was going to say the car appears to be clearing itself a fraction, but the lap flag going out for Rex, who just holds his line and allows our leader to come through, but gee, David Anderson losing a little bit of time.
Yes, that's a pity for Anderson. He just got balked there by that slower car. But the Coca-Cola sign ticks over 9 laps in the South Australian Championship. At the moment, it belongs to Max Dumsney, but I would say there is a challenger there, just making up a little bit of ground in the main chute, coming down through turn 3 and 4, a slow car up high.
8 circuits to go. 8 circuits to go. Rex Hodson, unfortunate for this driver, pulling onto the infield. Jamie Cobby and Wayne Bunker bearing down upon Ian Lewis, the fly from Victoria. 1 and 2, ladies and gentlemen. David Anderson is a man on a mission. He is driving very much on adrenaline, and Darrell Downing has lost a left rear. Darrell Downing has spat a left rear wheel. It seems to have sheared away completely from the axle. Look at the rim there, JT, in front of the Dulux Auto Colour sign.
That's amazing.
The tyre has folded away from the rim completely. These cars not running in an inner tube whatsoever, no tube. And that is incredible. It seems like the complete left rear wheel sheared away from the axle.
The old blue tack gave a moment in turn 2 early in the race and hasn't quite recovered from that. But we're waiting for a restart in this, the 1993 South Australian Jarvis Ford Championship for sprint cars. Dumsney is out. Anderson behind him. He's trying to make up that ground. Anderson is very much in line for a takeover position here if he can get high enough to get around Dumsney.
Ian Lewis and Jamie Cobby fighting it out for 3rd and 4th respectively, and Jamie Cobby getting a little anxious, throws it up on the mid-track line. He's looking for some traction. Lewis on the low line, neck and neck into turn number 3. They just about touch, but it's a South Australian who moves into 3rd position. What a good move that was for Jarvis Ford Road Track Services. He'll have his sights set on Anderson, but they are beginning to skip out just a little bit, with Max Dumsney opening up a 3 to 4 car length buffer. Off turn number 4, there's Max Dumsney. 5 remaining at 13.03. Anderson coming at him one more time. Could this be the last hurrah for David Anderson? He's going to have to give 115% now as they get on the gas pedal off turn number 4. 4 circuits remaining.
Certainly is. Can Jamie Cobby do his sponsors proud for Jarvis Ford and get up into some sort of position there to tackle these 2 front runners? We don't know at this stage. There's only 3 laps to go, probably too late. It's not too late for Anderson because he is into turn 2 and is out and after Dumsney down the back straight past the west end sign into 3, round to 4. We've got 2.5 laps to go.
Through goes Max Dumsney, a 13.02, 13.02. The wick is now completely turned up from the David Anderson point of view. Jamie Cobby in a consistent and solid 3rd position. 4th is Ian Lewis, but he's falling back into the clutches of Wayne Bunker. The white flag out, 1 remaining. Anderson closing on Dumsney. They're into turns 3 and 4. Can he pull it out of the bag? No, I don't think so. World Series champion, make that South Australia champion, Max Dumsney. Does it for Valvoline and John Sydney Racing. 2nd to David Anderson. 3rd, Jamie Cobby. 4th, Ian Lewis. 5th, Wayne Bunker. 6th position, Peter Smith. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, you've just witnessed one of the best sprint car races you're ever likely to see. Warm your hands up. Put it together for them. A big round of applause. 1 through to 6. Quality personified tonight. The Winged Warriors, the V8 Crusaders, you can call them what you like. They've put on a real show for you. Entertainment Plus. Max Dumsney, David Anderson, Jamie Cobby getting up into 3rd for his sponsors, the chief sponsor of the meeting, And Ian Lewis, after dropping back gradually, finishing in 4th position from Wayne Barker and Peter Smith. JT, was that entertainment or what?
Have a look. Give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen. Max Dumsney. It wasn't easy. It wasn't a cakewalk. He had Anderson right behind him all the way, tapping on his boot. And as he goes down into turn 2, as you go back to the car park, don't forget next week, of course, if you'd like to stay, there are presentations now to cheer the drivers on and also recognise the sponsors. Down the back chute, Max Dumsney, very quick indeed tonight here to be officially the 1993 South Australian champion. It is official, 5:37 and 16, and for the 8 laps, 1 minute 44.3, 1 minute 44.3 is the time for those final 8 laps.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys, and just a call to the Super Sedan drivers and the placings. If you're not out here, we need you out here. But first of all, a magnificent drive in the Jarvis Ford South Australian Sprint Car feature, and I have Rick Collins here from Jarvis Ford to say a few words.
Have a look at Mrs. Miller. One of the prettier Millers, actually.
Right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It was a first-class night. Jarvis Ford were very proud to be the main sponsor, and I congratulate all the officials who helped tonight's event, and in particular the drivers. In the last race there, I asked Jamie to make certain that he flew, but I didn't mean literally. But he did a fantastic job driving our car and finished in the 3rd spot.
Thank you very much, Rick. Let's call up 4th place getter now, one of the Victorians, the Fly, Ian Lewis. Where are you, Ian? Ian Lewis, going back into the pits.
Yeah, I think you'll find most of the sprint car fellas have just dropped back to the pits. Perhaps if you've got the Super Sedan.
Okay, well then
Sedan
let's
fellas
change
there.
things a little. I have Neil Kemp from Scotcher Petroleum here. Neil, you also would be pretty happy with your sponsored event.
Yes, you can say that again. We're extremely pleased. On behalf of Scotcher Petroleum, I would like to thank the Speedway Park Management for their assistance in making tonight available. And also I would like to congratulate Jarvis Ford for their event tonight. I thought the way they handled their promotion was first class, and congratulations to Jarvis Ford. On the race itself, I think if anyone that wins a state title or a state anything 3 times in a row deserves to be recognised as a true champion. But when you win your 3rd title in a race of the calibre of that, where he had to beat a very courageous dart from Steve Miller, who finished 3rd, what a tremendous race he put in. He had to beat a very experienced, very competitive driver in John Hughes, who finished 2nd, and I think we all should applaud and congratulate SA champion, 3rd year in a row, Brad Scotcher. What an effort.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, and thank you to Scotcher Petroleum too. Let's get on with the placings. In 4th placing, I thought he might have his brother hand it to him, but Billy Miller, car 77. Bill, your sash. I think you know the lady you're getting the sash from. You'll probably even get a kiss if you're lucky. He didn't get a kiss either. Bill, I thought Stephen might let you go, but you put up a good race. Motor pulled down during the week and it held up well.
Yeah, that was Stephen's engine that was in the car, actually. Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate Brad for another great drive. John, Stephen, the sponsors, Blarath Auto Parts, Rick Corbett Engine Reconditioners, champion, and thank you all for coming.
Good on you, Bill. If you'd just like to stand over there so we can have team photographs. And a really great drive. I know you put your hands together, bit of bad luck. Be interesting to see what happened. Car number 6, Stephen Miller. Just an ordinary kiss there, you two. Stephen, congratulations, a fantastic drive, but we got to ask, what happened on that restart?
A wire fell off the magneto, of all things. Yeah, yeah, one of those things. I reckon I'll be 50 before I crack one of these. I've got that many 3rd and 2nd trophies, it's not funny. I'd like to thank Austral Steel, Egan and Glove, Dunning's Engineering Supplies, Blue Apple Auto Parts, Miller's Auto Products, the guys for working on the car, Paul, Frank and Grimmy, Robby Stevens for lending me a real quick engine. I couldn't get much more out of it tonight. She was flat to the ports. Gary for coming and helping us during the week, and a special thanks to Ben Ludlow for pointing out the problem so I could restart. Thank you.
Good on you, ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Miller. And now the first of the daily double in second placing, car 69, John Hughes. Where are you, boss? Congratulations, John, your trophy. You'd have to be pretty happy, apart from the problems you had early in the night, you have to be pretty happy with that second placing.
Yeah, we've been working at the car for a while, and it takes a little bit of sorting out a different car like that, and it's good to... We're slowly getting results, just a little bit at a time, and don't do enough racing, that's the trouble.
You have to give away those sprint cars.
Yeah, I'd like to thank particularly my sponsors and the sponsor of the Sedan racing tonight, Scotcher Petroleum. John's a tremendous supporter of Speedway and motor racing in general, and he's done an awful lot for this place over the years, and is right behind Sedan car racing. And thanks very much, John. Also to Mark Peacock, does all the work on my car, and David for his help as well, and also Motorlab for their support. Thanks.
Good on you, ladies and gentlemen, John Hughes. And now I know you're going to tear the house down. Victorian champion, Tassie champion, and third in a row, South Australian champion, Brad Scotcher. Brad, I told you before, the last guy to do 3 in a row did it exactly 20 years ago, and now you've got more state titles than you know what to do with. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Patches Bitumen, Sascar Engineering, Scotcher Petroleum particularly for supporting me and sponsoring this race, Sportcraft for doing all the panels on the car, Mike Stewart at West Torrens Dyno Centre worked to get the engine going this week. We had a few troubles during the week, and he put jobs aside today to get the car fixed and got us out here. Congratulations to other place getters. I really had to work for that race. I thought I was out of control most of the time, but we took it away, so that's good. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Brad Scotcher and the place getters and the Scotcher Petroleum SA Sprint Car Champion. Back there for team photographs. And now, Rick, let's get on with the sprint cars again, and I'll call up the fourth place getter, Ian the Fly Lewis. Where are you, Ian? A hush, deathly silence fall over the place. He's not here, obviously, so let's go to third placing, Jamie Cobby. They're still coming. We've got Jamie coming through. Hopefully Ian Lewis can hear us in the pits. Ian, we need you out here. Jamie Cobby, driving the Jarvis Ford car. Jamie, a hard race, but the others just got away from you.
Yeah, you know, we went in there pretty hard on the first corner, and, you know, just that's racing, you know. We bicycled a bit and dropped back a few spots, but come back and finished third, so we're happy with that. Thanks a lot.
You don't want to say anything about your sponsors, Jamie?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, if it wasn't for Jarvis Ford and Road and Track Services, you know, we've got a good team together, and, you know, I'm really proud to be driving for them and working for Jarvis Ford. And don't forget the 8.95% finance on Saturdays.
I think there's a plug in there. Ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Cobby. Is Ian Lewis here yet? No, let's go to second place getter. I don't even know if he's here yet. Is David Anderson out here? Deathly hush befalls the place. Let's go on to the winner, and I know you're really going to tear the house down because he's sort of like an adopted son. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Jarvis Ford South Australian Sprint Car Champion, Max Dumsney. Max, it's always nice to see you here. I must tell you though, we were taking bets in the centre. Would Anderson catch you, and then would Max let him pass? We both lost.
Well, if you had caught me, I wasn't going to let him pass easy anyway. I'd just like to thank everyone for turning up, and sorry that we didn't get more sprint cars here tonight, but that's the economy, I suppose. And thanks a lot to my sponsors, Valvoline, John Sydney Racing, Crane Cans, and congratulations to David and Jamie and Ian Lewis, and also to my pit crew for doing a top job tonight. We didn't have John Sydney here tonight, and it's the first time ever we've won a race without him, and we'll celebrate that one tonight. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a real nice guy, Matt Stumsney. Now, I saw David Anderson running out here. Did I see David? Andy's not here. Well, then that concludes the events down here. Sorry that Ian Lewis and David Anderson weren't out here, but nevertheless it has been great racing. I congratulate you all, the winners, and to the sponsors, Scotcher Petroleum and to Jarvis Ford. That winds up the events down here. Don't forget to call into the pits afterwards. We'll see you again next week out here for the South Australian Speed Car Championship, and don't forget to turn your watches back tomorrow night. Other than that, good night everybody, and remember, Speedway's here on the track, not out on the road.